What's happening, people? Welcome back to the show. This is the Upper Tier Podcast. I am your host, Niall. We have an episode tonight, a Shankly Sessions episode, where we're going to be looking at the Arsenal game. Back from a week in Florida, I was over there for the Royal Rumble with the lads. Shout out to the lads I went with, Graham, Baz, and JR. We had a great time over there in Florida. Came back and then tested positive for COVID. So you can hear it in my voice now there. I sound a little bit nasally, a little bit fluey and stuff like that. But I said I'd jump on and do a show. I have missed doing the shows. So tonight we're going to be taking a quick look at Arsenal versus Liverpool. Huge game coming up tomorrow. Super Sunday, if there was ever a Super Sunday. Plenty of history between us, of course. Both teams and stuff like that, but we'll get into all that shortly as well because we've other stuff to talk about as well. I go away for a week and all hell breaks loose, no doubt, in pro wrestling with the Vince McMahon allegations and all that. We're going to be getting into that on Wednesday in Pro Wrestling Weekly. I'll give you my review of the Royal Rumble, and we'll chat about the trip and all that kind of stuff and fun, and we'll go in depth on the McMahon situation and the impact it's having on the business and all that kind of stuff as well. Monday I will be back. It is a bank holiday, but we will be here at 9 o'clock with the Monday mashup. Myself and Mark was talking to Marky today. So that's all good. Tonight you get your preview and we'll talk about other stuff as well. But yeah, I went away and then I think it was Thursday. I think it was either Thursday or Friday. I'm lying in bed in Florida. It's about 4:30 in the morning. And my co-host on the Thursday Tier Talk rings me and I see the phone ringing and I get up. It was away on charge on the other side of the room and I see Darren's name on it and I go, what is going on here? This lad is ringing me at 4:30 in the morning, Florida time. I'm already dying from jet lag trying to figure out how to sleep as it is. And he delivers the news that Jurgen Klopp has announced he's leaving Liverpool. Couldn't believe it. Didn't know what to make of it. So we'll get into talking about that as well. But before we start, of course, Morris is in. Cheap Heat. Sorry, Cody. Morris, we called it. We said it was coming, didn't we? We said that not everyone was as interested in finishing the story as Cody was. And we will be talking about it on Wednesday. Plenty to come out on that. Don't forget, folks, head over to Morris Cheap Heat Productions Podcast. Mr. Anderson on there. Ahmed Johnson, he's getting them all on. He's absolutely pushing it out of the park. And make sure while you're over there, show him your support as well. He's running in the local elections as well. And he has the full support from all us here in the Upper Tier. Also, check out the show today, Fantasy Chancer, which we dropped this morning. That's Morris's fantasy football show on the Upper Tier. We appreciate him doing that as well. So make sure you share and show the love. But before we get into the show tonight, this man sadly passed away yesterday. Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed, Dylan, out of Predator. Movies that I grew up on. They were a huge part of my childhood and my teens, and had a huge influence on me. I still watch them to this day many times. Probably once a month I would watch them. Predator is an all-time favorite of mine. The greatest handshake ever, I believe, in the world. But sadly he passed away. But he was also involved. I think he had a cameo roles in Starsky and Hutch. He had cameo roles in Magnum PI. As recently he was in The Mandalorian, of course, as well. But also he was in one of my all-time favorite shows called The Shield, which was a police show with Michael Chiklis in it, Vic Mackey, if you can remember The Shield. It was kind of edgy stuff at the time about a drugs kind of squad in LA, and kind of they were corrupt cops and stuff like that. And it was based on the background to the Rappaport situation, Ramparts situation, I should say. But really shot really grungy footage and all that kind of stuff, and all. It was really cool at the time. So if you haven't checked out The Shield, it's definitely worth checking out. I think there's either 5 or 6 seasons, but it all comes full circle on these guys who've been on the take and stuff like that and all. But a really, really, really cool show, and really out there for its time. So it's worth checking out. And I think Carl Weathers he was involved in 2 episodes on it and stuff like that as well. So big shout out to him as well, you know. So our thoughts and prayers, of course, go out to the wider community, the Rocky community and the Predator community. He was scheduled to be at a Comic-Con and stuff like that as well. So very sad to hear of his passing, and it was great to see Jesse Ventura and places, people like that, Rocky and Sylvester Stallone and everything, sharing their thoughts on his passing and what a big influence he had on their careers and stuff like that as well. So just thought I'd share that tonight as well. Philip hit the nail on the head there as well. We'll get to the comments now in a second. We're going to talk about this as well. Watkins, captain and a goal, yeah, and 3 assists. Doug, how are you, my friend? Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for joining in. Philip is in. How are you, Philip? Good to see you. Young Conor Bradley probably won't be in the squad for a visit to the Emirates as his father passed away. R.I.P. Absolutely. Very sad to hear about this. Conor Bradley, after coming into the senior team, absolutely after setting it alight. And we will talk about Klopp on the press conference and how we spoke about how lucky we've been, even though we've had injuries and stuff like that. It's really fitting to hear the gaffer talking about how we've managed that and stuff. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. But of course, R.I.P. to Joe Bradley at such a young age, 58 years of age, I think he was. Conor sadly losing his father. And like, isn't it great that he was able to see him make his debut in the senior squad for Liverpool, scoring the other night against Chelsea, getting assists, absolutely destroying that Chelsea team and as well, and really doing his father and his family proud. And very sad the untimely timing of this. Never a great time to lose a parent. So tough, especially Conor being so young as well. Has the full support of the club and of course everyone involved and stuff like that as well. You'll never walk alone means so much more at these real times. And that LFC family and all of us here and everything and all the support we can show, there'll be a huge outpouring, no doubt. And he will get through this. And every time he kicks a ball on that wing or for Liverpool, his dad will be on his shoulder, guiding him all the way through his football career. So R.I.P. Joe Bradley, and our thoughts and prayers go out to Conor and his family as well. Big up Philip for that as well. Yeah, Doug is in. Carl Weathers was also in Toy Story. Yeah, Toy Story and Combat Carl and stuff like that as well. Yeah, he was in. It's funny enough, so many people just associate him with Rocky and Predator and stuff like that. But like, if you get down through his Wikipedia and down through his filmography and stuff like that, no, he was involved in so much stuff. I think was he in Happy Gilmore as well and a few other things and all. The boys were talking about, if you want to check out on the Slab as well, some of the lads who used to do the Dynamo Podcast Network with us back in the day, they have a show on the Slab and they did a tribute to him last night. They did a stellar job on it as well. And it's a kind of an emptiness when you feel like when you've grown up with a guy that's so iconic in terms of the movies you watched and the DVDs and the VHS for guys who are older like me and stuff like that. It is iconic. And you kind of feel like you feel that emptiness, you know what I mean, when you lose these guys, you know, if we were to lose like Arnie and Stallone and guys like that and all, these were a big part in shaping people's childhoods and even into their teens and their adulthood and all that kind of stuff and all. And it's always very sad when it happens. But yeah, absolutely. Combat Carl. Well, Phillips in R.I.P. Carl Weathers. Absolutely. Del boy, my friend, how are you? Big up Niall. Good to see you, my friend. Do you think he will turn out to play for us on the Irish team? I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure what his declaration is either. I seen him, I think, in an Ireland jersey there. I seen a picture there earlier today. Much younger though, younger guy. Them with that Ireland jersey on him and stuff like that. So I really don't know. But if I was involved in the Ireland setup at the moment, not obviously now during these difficult times for the lad, but I'd certainly be talking to him, because as we know, years ago there was kind of a gulf between us, and the Republic team obviously was probably more attractive at the time. Now that's kind of rebalanced itself again now, and both are attractive to these people now. We're making a choice and stuff like that, but we should be doing everything we can. He's a super talent and stuff like that, and looks the real business. Let us know, Del, what you're thinking is on tomorrow as well, or if you fancy popping on, there's no problem. If you want to pop on and chat about Arsenal, you're probably busy or out on the town or having a good time or whatever it is and stuff like that. But if you're not, you're more than welcome to come on, pal. Before we get into the match, I have to talk about this. This hit me for 6 the other day, and no doubt Darren rang me, as I said, in Florida. It was about 4:30 in the morning. You know, normally I'd be saying, "What the hell are you ringing me for at this time?" I actually thought something had happened, that one of the lads had passed or a death or something like that. That's what you first go and think of if someone's ringing you at that hour. And I'm sitting there half asleep, and he's telling me this, and he has the video on Sky Sports, and this is all over Sky Sports and all, and I'm going, wow, what has triggered this? I go away for a week. Klopp's leaving. Vince McMahon's in serious federal trouble, allegations and all. Um, Lots of stuff going on, and it was absolutely crazy. And I couldn't put a finger on it. And I don't know whether you guys in the chat either have put a finger on this yet, especially you, the Liverpool fans in the chat, of course. What do you make of this? What do you think it is? What do you think has triggered it? It's kind of a weird timing, isn't it? We're flying high. Everything's going well for us, bar a few injuries, and we had to deal with AFCON and the Asia Cup and stuff like that. But in general, um, if you look at the pictures coming out from training, you look at the pictures coming out through the club and stuff like that, everyone's happy, everyone's training. Young players are stepping up, looking like they've been there for so long. Couldn't be better. Top of the league, you know, qualified into the next round of the Europa, into the final of the Carabao Cup, and sailing in the FA Cup. So life couldn't be any better for Liverpool or Liverpool fans. So it's a real strange one, and I didn't know what to make of it. But what do you think is going to trigger it? Now there's lots of theories out there and stuff like that. The documentary is one. We know he did it before when he was asked about the Arsenal documentary and various other ones, stuff that he said if they ever brought that into his dressing room, he would leave straight away and stuff like that. Now we know the documentary has started shooting this week. And I'm sure he would have been totally against it and stuff like that. But I think there's huge amounts of money involved and stuff like that as well, and it probably gets quite intrusive. And I'd imagine when things get quite intrusive, that gets quite annoying to him, because although he's quite open with us as fans and stuff like that, he is kind of quite private as well. And it might be a little bit too intrusive for him. So is it something to do with the documentary? Is it something to do where he wanted targets in the January window that they said no? Is it to do with investment? We see that FSG are pouring a lot of money into this NBA franchise, and also they're getting heavily involved in the PGA with the golf as well and stuff like that and all. So has Liverpool become like not so much of a priority in the FSG group now? Is it just kind of a cash cow where they can draw on for funds to further other ideas and other sports and other investments and stuff like that? And is Liverpool the priority in terms of being successful and moving forward and continually trying to challenge Man City and all that kind of stuff? Maybe it's something to do with that. People were talking about maybe is it an illness and stuff like that. I'm not too sure. I don't know. And then it was interesting as well, because obviously Pep Linders came out, and the backroom staff, they've all tendered their resignations as well at the end of the season, obviously, because a lot of them have a huge loyalty to this man. Darren has often mentioned in the podcast that there's only one superstar at Liverpool, and that's Jurgen Klopp, which I do tend to agree with somewhat. But we follow Liverpool Football Club, and we've seen people come and go. Not happy with him going at all. The timing is kind of weird. We were just entering into this Liverpool 2.0. We'd already reset the midfield somewhat. More players were going to leave, no doubt, in the summer. We were probably going to make more signings. Have FSG informed Jurgen Klopp that they're going to accept the offer potentially on Mo Salah in the summer? Did that not sit well with him? Were they going to take the money from that and use it elsewhere? Was he not promised that money to go out and buy players to replace Mo Salah, if that's at all possible? I'm not too sure, but there's lots of stuff swirling around at the moment, and no doubt we will find out in time what happened. I do have to say, and a guy that a lot of us got up in arms about, Pep Linders, when he was writing the books and when we were going through that tough season last season and stuff like that and all, I have to say his interview yesterday, I think it was excellent. I thought he really put his heart on the sleeve. You can see how much Liverpool means to him and his family. He's there 10 years or whatever it is now, nearly a decade or whatever it is. He regards his children as being scouts and all that kind of thing, you know. And it was nice to hear his words, even though it's kind of tough, because it does feel like the end of an era. And then you hear Virgil van Dijk coming out, and he gave an interview talking about his future and all that kind of stuff. And then he backtracked on it a little bit, saying that's not actually what he meant. That it was kind of like, you know, it was kind of like what players always look at their future, you know, of course. So that's the real risk is for us, and I suppose we need to look at this and talk about it as well, with Klopp potentially going on the backroom staff and who comes in. Is it Xavi Alonso? Do we look at the guy from Sporting? Should we be looking at the Girona manager? Should we be wider afield? People talking about the Serbia, Brighton, all sorts of stuff and all. You know, you're not going to replace this man like we didn't replace Bob Paisley, like we didn't replace Shanks, like we didn't replace all these guys. We just changed it into different people, and we went on a different journey. And no doubt, whoever they bring in, hopefully they're up to the task. Hopefully they'll continue the good work that we've started, and also put their kind of slant on things as well, and continue our success and being competitive, especially against Man City, in the vein that they're in at the moment. And maybe it's a case, maybe he was just tired, maybe he was worn out from chasing City down. And it was interesting to see the reaction as well. Pep spoke about how, you know, Man City and Pep wouldn't be as successful if it hadn't been for Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp, because, as we know, it takes two to tango, and everyone needs a dance partner. Unless you have someone that's pushing you on, Pep spoke about it last season and all, how Liverpool have pushed Man City and Pep onto another level every time we've challenged them and stuff like that, which makes this season so much more interesting. I'll take some of your comments in here. Acers. Cody Rose destroys Tron. Triple H never got forgiven. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, falling out with USA. Yeah, maybe. Klopp has nothing left to win except Europa League title. I don't know about that. I've often spoke about Jurgen Klopp, and at times we've been so close to winning so much more. And I do really believe we should have at least two more Prem titles and possibly two more Champions League titles as well. If we just had gone that other step, that extra player, that key moment, or whatever it is. And I wonder, when he looks back on his career at Liverpool, the Jurgen Klopp era, I wonder, will he look back at it? Of course, he'll look at all the successes of the trophies and stuff like that, and even the battles he put up and stuff like that. But will he look at it at times in terms of a missed opportunity, where we could have just went that little bit further at those key moments? You know, that injury here or there, if we had had a player in the squad, or we had went and got just one more player in a key position or whatever, could it have happened? Could have been something different. Klopp was saying that he wanted to leave last season, but FSG promised more transfers this season. Exactly. And in fairness, in the summer, you know, we went out and we spent money. We probably could have done a better job in the six and not Masters, McAllister and stuff like that. No, but I wonder, was he left a little bit short? But something has triggered this a little bit as well, I think. Yeah, because the timing of this stage, Nigel, 5 stages of grief, yeah. I think it's absolutely disgraceful behaviour by Jurgen at all. I'm very angry now. I think it's absolutely disgraceful behaviour by Jurgen at all. I'm very angry now. I trusted these guys. Yeah, it's a tough one. You know what I mean? It's hard to know. You know what I mean? And especially like at a key moment where things are going well for us. And again, it looks like, I read that the boys had a meeting. The players had a meeting, of course. Van Dijk would have been in there. Alisson, all the key guys, Robbo and all those, Trent, the head guys, had a meeting with the squad. And they made it very clear that they were going to absolutely walk through walls and burst through walls to make things happen this season, to send this man off the right way. So I like what I'm hearing there from that point of view, you know. At least Klopp will get managed to next season with Madrid in the summer. That's not happening. That's not happening. He ain't going there. Basically ripped the heart right out of the club. Great job, Jurgen. Yeah, it's such a tough one, isn't it? Weird timing, in my opinion. He stayed for this season to get Liverpool back on good footing. Otherwise, he would have left in the summer. Yeah, and it's kind of, how do you feel about that, folks? I mean, if we knew that Liverpool in the summer was about to embark on a rebuild, and we assumed that this man was going to be in charge and he was going to take on that rebuild and restore us to where we wanted to be and whatever had to happen and bring in and all that kind of stuff. Started with the midfield and stuff like that. So really, should the decision have been made in the summer, and should a new manager have come in, and should he be rebuilding? Should he have started this? You know what I mean? And no doubt the new manager that comes in, whoever he is, he's not going to have a problem with what was done in the summer in terms of rebuilding the midfield, because it's been absolutely excellent. It couldn't have probably gone any better, to be honest. But it's interesting in terms of trying to plan then for the summer. And especially with the Euros and stuff like that as well, where you have to get off straight away because players are going to be away, various things are going to be happening. So it's going to be a tough window in terms of getting things tied down in a very narrow space of time. And trying to get players in early enough to bed in. Like, for instance, if Mo Salah goes, say, for 150 million and we need to replace Mo Salah, we'll be looking for a certain ilk of player. There ain't too many of them out there. So it's going to be difficult to replace him, but we need to replace him in time as well if that happens, with players that can come in and get accustomed to what we're trying to do, have a pre-season and all that kind of stuff, you know. And then if players start performing in the Euros, does it ratchet up the price? We've seen this in the past as well. Players that might have been, 60, 70, 80 million, now we're suddenly going to cost you 120 million or something ridiculous, you know. Yeah, but I totally agree, Philip. But I just wonder, what way the timing has gone and stuff like that. And if you've rebuilt your midfield, and you're in such a great vein of form at the moment in terms of where our positioning is, and even withstanding the AFCON and the Asia Cup and the injuries, we've gone through it. You know what I mean? And he hasn't been this year. He's been very, very different. I've said it a number of times. His pre-match press conference and post-match press conference have been really good. They've been really educational. He's been giving us a real feel for his thinking in moments and in times. He hasn't been out there going absolutely crazy in terms of, he hasn't been complaining about the injuries and player welfare. He's been figuring out a way to get on, and he's been acting like a manager who's managing a team. And I've said it on a number of podcasts, I've been really heartened by that and all, that this is the side of Simpson, because he looks like he's enjoying his football again. He looks like he's enjoying his press conferences again. He's not getting hit with all these crappy questions that came around last season and all when he was under a lot of pressure. Last season cut into him a lot, But yeah, it's going to be, last time the season is going to be an absolute killer to see him go. You go back and you look even, you look at the Dortmund video even when he left Dortmund, and that brings a tear to the eye, and Dortmund isn't even our club. Imagine what we're going to be like the last day of the season, Nigel. Pep L is BS also. He wants a manager's job. Well, I know a manager's job. Absolutely, Nigel. We must be talking to all the possible managers that could replace Jurgen already. Yeah. It is such a tough one, isn't it? Because it's a question probably of not replacing him. It's a question of us probably bringing in a manager now that's going to have, who's going to be at a certain level and stuff like that. Like some things are just not replaceable. Like, you don't replace Bill Shankly. You don't replace Bob Paisley. You don't replace Kenny Dalglish. And even when you look at players, you know what I mean? Like, you don't replace Robbie Fowler. You don't replace Ian Rush. You don't replace Roger Hunt. You don't replace Alan Hansen. You don't replace Ray Clements. You don't replace all these great players. You bring in a new player. Think about when we brought in Brucey into nets and how different he was from everyone else. Absolutely bonkers. But he was our goalkeeper, and he was our bonkers. And I think in this case as well is it's not a question of replacing him. It's a question of who we're going to bring in, because you don't replace this guy. This guy came in and right from the bat, similar to the Dortmund situation, right from the bat, he understood the club. He understood the history. He understood the culture, the people, the city. He understood, the Hillsborough situation. He understood everything that the club means to us. So much more than football. So much more than football, even to him. And that's difficult to replace. That's difficult to replace now. If the replacement is Xavi Alonso, he'll very quickly understand. He knows the city, he knows the culture, he knows the history. He's doing a stellar job of Leverkusen. But how does that translate into the Premier League? Probably the second biggest job in it outside of Man City, if you like, arguably the biggest job in it, because you're always trying to hunt down Pep and Man City. And how would that fare out? How would a Liverpool under Xavi Alonso compare in a competitive situation against Pep and Man City and all that kind of stuff? And you know what I mean? You're trying, everything's going through our minds at the moment, and how this all adds up and stuff like that. And it's difficult, you know what I mean? We were numbed by it last week. And only for results, and some of these players like Connor playing so well and stuff like that has kind of seen us through it a little bit, where we can't dwell on it. And because the games are coming so thick and fast, because we're still competing on four fronts and we still have so much to play for, we haven't had time to dwell on it and sit back and go, it's been a tough one. I want the manager that can build on top of what Jurgen has done, just as Bob Paisley did when he took over from Shanks. Absolutely. That's what we're looking for. But just, yourself, as I'm speaking to you, Philip, just in a slightly different way, because Bob built on the foundation of Shanks and stuff like that. But Bob was very different as well to Shankly. But still stellar in the history and the everything else. And we hope that that's what would happen. We would hope that we wouldn't get someone in and there's a massive drop off and they don't really understand it. Because I firmly believe if you want to be a successful manager at Liverpool, you have to understand the history. You have to understand the success. You have to understand the legacy. You have to understand the tragedy and all that kind of stuff. And you have to get it. And you have to make that connection with the fans. You have to be one of them. And it's so important. And I think it's really, really important that that's how we look at it and stuff like that. I think we can enjoy as much as we can the next 3 to 4 months, and hopefully it brings us plenty of silverware and success. That's all we can hope for, especially in this man's last season. No doubt we will find out in time what has kind of triggered this. And it'll be interesting to see what the actual situation is. I'm intrigued by it. I hope, as Nigel says here, I hope all the distraction will affect the players moving forward negatively. I hope it doesn't, Nigel, and we'll see it tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be the acid test, isn't it? Because tomorrow we're playing Arsenal. Big game. This is an opportunity for us to potentially take Arsenal out of the title race. 8 points would be very tough to pull back at this stage, especially when you look at the running that they have. Some key matches coming up for them. I think away from home as well, some tough games. But I think if we can win tomorrow, Man City aren't playing till Monday either as well. So the gap potentially will be 8 points, which will be absolutely huge. I wonder, is the gaffer playing around a little bit with the team news and stuff like that and the player updates and stuff like that? We know Darwin was in training, even though he said he potentially mightn't be available and stuff like that. We know Thiago could be available. Could Mo Salah rock up tomorrow? Who knows? Who knows what ways he's going to play this out and stuff like that. But the timing of these players coming back at the moment is absolutely huge in terms of the options they're going to give the gaffer going into these games. And it's hard to know what way he's going to do it and stuff like that. And the emergence of the likes of Kwanzaa, the emergence of Connor Bradley and these other kids and stuff like that has been great as well. And great to see that they've just slotted in like they're part of the furniture and giving them real options going forward there with Trent and Connor and, Joe Gomez on the left there as well. Does Joe start tomorrow? Does Robbo go back in? What happens with Costas when he comes back? All these different options, which are really, really good going forward. Sorry about this, folks. Dying here, I am. Dying. Um, I hope it doesn't, Nigel. I don't think it will. I think these players are out to prove a point. You seen the Chelsea game the other night. We absolutely annihilated Chelsea the other night. I know there was a couple of iffy VAR decisions, if you like, stuff like that. Goodness knows we've got our fair share of them this season ourselves. So we were probably due a few breaks if needed. But we could have destroyed Chelsea the other night. I mean, Darwin could have had a hat-trick if he had his shooting boots on. And no doubt he will come good. Fingers crossed. Nigel, I won't be buying Jurgen's book. I'll buy it, Nigel, and I'll tell you what the real reason was that he left. You're feeling, Nigel, you're feeling really bad about this, aren't you? You're feeling let down big time by this announcement and stuff like that, aren't you? Like, I can see it in your comments, stuff like that. And a lot of us are feeling the same. It's tough. It's a tough one to swallow. And it's going to get tougher as the season goes on. But I don't think the players will allow that to happen. I think there's too much talent there. I think there's too much quality. I think there's too many leaders to allow that just to slide and stuff like that. But tomorrow is going to be key. Let's see how tomorrow goes. That will be interesting to see. Let's see if these guys really are truly willing to walk through walls and that. Right, that's enough about Jurgen and leaving. I did want to talk about the press conference. And again, shoot into the comments there, folks. And you want to talk about any questions, anything at all, I'm open to it tonight. It's a real relaxed kind of show tonight. It doesn't have to be too structured because I feel like absolute dog crap. So I'm happy just to chat away with you guys. I have missed it and I've been isolating in this bloody room for 2 days now at this stage, so it's killing me as it is. I did want to talk about his press conference yesterday. And the one thing I picked up on the press conference, which was really cool, which was how he spoke about in key moments when he has received injuries, he's always had a replacement. There's always been someone who's been able to go in. Connor went in for Trent. McAllister came back in time when Endo was heading off. The front line is pivotal in this rotation. Jota stepping up has been sensational. Darwin has been playing really, really well. Struggling to put the ball in the back of the net, but we can forgive him for that, and that will come good, hopefully. Luis Diaz has upped this game. Cody Gakpo has upped this game. McAllister has looked sensational back in the six again. We learned today, of course, commiserations to Endo. Japan getting knocked out of the Asia Cup today. So he's on the way back as well. Thiago's on the way back. Stefan, hopefully we'll see. Unfortunately, Joel is out for the season. But we have a number of players coming back, and it's timely that this is happening. But this is a huge game tomorrow. But I love the way he spoke about, normally you would see he'd be a little bit down, a little bit negative about the injuries, and he'd be talking about player welfare, and he'd be all weighed down on that. This time he hasn't been. This time it's been, okay, Trent had to go out, Connor came in, Robbo went out, Costas came in, Costas went out, Joe slotted in. And he's starting to see the versatility of some of these players that we have, including Joe Gomez, who can literally play along the whole back line at this stage now, which is really, really cool to see. And the one thing that happens with these injuries is you do have to sometimes dig deep in your squad and you do unearth something that you didn't realise. And I think Joe was being one of those things. And actually, I was thinking the other night, Joe should have probably took the penalty. Would have been pretty cool for Joe to get a goal. I'm on this campaign for Joe Gomez to get a goal this season. I want us to be 3 or 4-0 up in the game and get a penalty and someone to walk over and hand the ball to Joe Gomez and say, step up there, lad, and get your goal. That's what I want to happen. And that would really be the icing on what potentially could be a really, really good season. Joe Gomez finally getting that Liverpool goal. He's come so close. Is tomorrow the day where Joe Gomez just puts one in from about 20 yards out in the Emirates and just silences the Arsenal crowd? Would be absolutely phenomenal. Big up, Jack. How are you, my friend? Hello, Niall. Hope you're well, mate. I'm good, pal. I'm good. I had a really nice day today. I went to Tranmere game today with my mates and we got a draw against Crewe. It was 5th, which I will happily take. I really enjoyed today. Great stuff. Love to hear that. And then you're bouncing into tomorrow. Big Super Sunday as well. So congrats, Jack. Delighted Tranmere got that result today. But yeah, like I said, he was just very relaxed and he was able to, and again, we could see a little bit of depth into his thinking about how he thinks about how he he moves players around and how it all works and stuff like that as well. So that's what I really took out of the presser. He did talk about how it's a big game. Of course, it's a big game. A lot of pressure on Arsenal, no doubt, because they're hinging on a title race there. I think for us, I think worst case tomorrow we get a draw, but I have a funny feeling. I think we're going to rock up and we're going to win. I just think with the announcement last week and everything that's going on, and players coming back, and I'm looking at a lot of the videos and a lot of the footage coming out from the training and around the club and the access centre and stuff like that. Players are really, really happy at the moment. They seem really, really happy. They're having a good time. I've seen video footage today, the basketball and stuff and all. They look like they're having a good time. They're embracing it. They're enjoying it. And this season, it's kind of they're out for the ride kind of thing, and they're going to try and deliver as much as they can. And they're taking it game by game, and it's just seems to be an enjoyable experience. I looked at that video with Trent. Going to talk about that now. Trent coming on the other night against Chelsea, 300 games, and I was thinking about it today. When I was putting this slide together, 300 games for Trent, and like we still think of Trent, we still think of him as nearly being the kid in the group, don't we? He's the vice captain, and it's weird to say that as well. And he's Gouser in our team and all that, but we still think of him as being that kind of child in the team and stuff like that. And I was thinking today, I was listening to the video on the 300 games and stuff like that, and I just remembered that image of him. Sitting on his backside in the tunnel, and he's staring at the medal in disbelief. And what an image it was, and what an image it portrayed. It was just unbelievable. So hats off to Trent. 300. I hope he gets 300 more. And what more can we say? Unbelievable. I'm going to start to do Tranmere match day vlogs. It won't have my face or anything in it though. Absolutely, Jack. Awesome stuff. Have you seen today Conor Bradley's dad has sadly passed away? I did. I mentioned it earlier. Very, very sad news, of course. And the lad absolutely humming, and I'm sure his family and his dad would have been so proud of him and what he's achieving and stuff like that. So yeah, seeing it, Jack, very sad. Right, let's talk. What lineups are we going up for tomorrow? This one is a little bit redundant that I did, obviously, with the news of Conor's dad and stuff like that. But let me know what your thoughts are. Trent was probably going to go in anyway, I would assume. Big question for us though. What are we doing? What are we going with up front if Darwin isn't available, or do we believe Darwin is going to be available? No problem at all, Philip. Really appreciate that. Yeah, cheers for that, pal. Always appreciate the support and stuff like that. But let us know, guys, what lineup you're thinking of going with. Should Joe Gomez come out? Should Robbo go back in? I think Joe Gomez should keep his place. Allison obviously in there, Kanate, Van Dijk, midfield, Dominic, McAllister and Curtis. Is that what we're going with there? And how are we feeling about up front? Are we going with Jota, Diaz and Darwin if Darwin is available? Could they spring a surprise on us? We've seen Mo Salah out jogging and running and all that kind of stuff. Could he be on the bench? Could Thiago be on the bench? Connor, no doubt, probably would have been on the bench. Trent probably goes back in. But Connor's been absolutely outstanding. But obviously we'll need some time off now with his dad's passing. But no doubt he's going to still feature this season, and he's going to be a big part of the success of Liverpool in 2024. So let us know what's your thoughts on your lineup in the chat there, folks. Let us know who you're thinking. Joe Gomez retains his position. I just want to see him bang a goal. Trent obviously comes back in, and I'll be probably back in next week. There was talk of Thiago coming back in for the next match and stuff like that as well. But I'll tell you one thing, folks, we're going to have a heck of a bench. All these players coming back and stuff like that, we're going to have a heck of a bench. And how are you feeling about the front line maybe next week if Salah's back in? Who gets sacrificed? These guys have been absolutely awesome. Does Salah go back straight in? Probably. Should he go back straight in? Who knows? Let me know your thoughts. Philip reckons Gomez keeps his place, and if Nunes isn't fit, Cody will get a start. Yeah, I think Gomez should keep his place. I fully believe if you have players in there, I think the player that's in there, regardless of who's coming back off injury, I suppose it's different maybe with the goalkeepers or the centre backs and stuff like that. But certainly on those wide position stuff like that, the player in situ should be the player holding the cards. And Joe Gomez has been sensational in that position since he's gone in there. And we know Robbo went out; he's only back. Wasn't having an amazing season prior to going out. We know Costas came in, struggled for a number of games, then kind of found himself and started playing well. Unfortunately, got that injury where he flew into Klopp with Saka. And then Joe went in there at the left side, and he's been absolutely sensational. So I agree with you, Philip. I think Joe definitely should keep his place. I think if Robbo wants his place back, he's going to have to earn it. So let's see what happens there. Let's see what the gaffer's thinking is. So it's going to be a real interesting to see what the lineup is tomorrow. But I'm intrigued at the bench. I wonder is Klopp, has he got an ace up his sleeve there where he's going to flood the bench maybe with a lot of talent to give him options and stuff like that? No. Also, folks, let us know your scoreline. Let us know your scoreline and your prediction on this. Obviously, coming into the game, looking at form and stuff like that, Arsenal did have those 2 losses against West Ham and against Fulham, where they struggled. They had a really impressive win against Crystal Palace 5-0, which really looked like the Arsenal of old in terms of playing and stuff like that, and the way they moved the ball and everything in there. Obviously, Palace, we know, have been struggling and they were missing players and all that kind of stuff, but Arsenal really put them to the sword. Then they went away to Nottingham Forest and won 2-1 there during the week, and it was kind of a struggle for them. Awoni came on, picked up a goal, I think it was, and then made it a very nervous final 6-7 minutes or whatever it was. For ourselves at the moment, we've been on like a bit of a tear. It's interesting, isn't it, when we talk about January and the AFCON and the Asia Cup and, how there was going to be a drop-off and we were going to struggle and all, and it kind of just doesn't happen. So we had the 2-0 win against Burnley. We had the 4-2 win against Newcastle, which was so impressive. Bournemouth 4-0. This was Bournemouth who were in really good form at the time. Remember, we were talking about Solanke and all. And then we went out the other day 4-1 against Chelsea with scoreline, which definitely didn't tell the tale of the game. I was watching it in the States, and it was so impressive, and the way we played, but the way we just picked them apart. Would we have been surprised if that scoreline was 7 or 8-3? I wouldn't have been surprised. So banging form at the moment. Breakdown on the team news at the moment. For them, Thomas Partey has had a setback. We heard that from Arteta the other day. Jury and Timber still out with his ACL. Fabio Vieira with a groin. Tomiyasu continues in the Asian Cup glory with Japan. But obviously that ended today, so he'll be on the way back. And then he is due to return, obviously, with Egypt's elimination in the African Cup of Nations. Smith Rowe is back. Kai Havertz is back. Jorginho is back. Slight concerns over Jesus at the moment in terms of a knee, so they're kind of nursing that, but he is able to play and stuff like that. We've seen from ourselves with obviously Trent being back, Endo's on the way back now, Japan crashing out. Mo Salah, they're saying is a muscle. Seeing him running and stuff like that looks well, could be back. Obviously, Costa's out with the collarbone. Stefan's still out with the calf. Ben Doak out with the knee. Joel has gone with the knee for the season. Might see him the last game or two. Love to give him a send-off. Thiago looks like he could be soon back. He's there or thereabouts. McAllister took a bit of a knock the other night against Chelsea, but he should be okay. And available, and of course Cody's there as well, so it's all looking good. Robbo's back, Joe Gomez all in there, really good. So you look at the Arsenal lineup. The Arsenal predicted lineup at the moment is Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel Zinchenko, Odegaard, Rice, Havertz, Saka, Jesus, and Martinelli. No surprises in there at all. We know Zinchenko can invert into the midfield like he normally does, which normally gives us that lovely bit of room down the right-hand side there where we can open them up. We've done it a number of times. If you look at previous games in recent times, it's Zinchenko's lack of positional awareness has cost Arsenal in the past. We know the danger that Saliba and Gabriel possess off corners and set pieces. Going to have to be aware of that and very much switched on to that. Odegaard loves to arrive from deep as well when balls come out from the box. Rice will sit in there as the 6 and all, pulling the strings. Havertz will try and do what Havertz does. Then we know what Saka is about. Jesus, Martinelli, we know what those guys are about and the dangers that they possess and stuff like that. So there's nothing strange in terms of this. It's like these are kind of like, we know these guys now pretty well at this stage. We've played them so many times. They play their way, we play our way. Winner takes all kind of thing, you know. But yeah, that's the danger. Saka on the right, Jesus in the middle, Martinelli on the left. If Martinelli is allowed to play on his day, he can be very, very dangerous at opening us up. We know Odegaard can play those lovely passes as well, but he can also latch on and has a shot on him. We've been lucky somewhat in the last 2 games as well, but when we've switched on, rode our luck at times a little bit. But like I said, Saliba and Gabriel on those corners or free kicks, set pieces, and all that kind of stuff. That's what we need to be really, really careful on. We know Raya at times can be a little bit Ramsdale-esque as well. So if we put people in on him and stuff like that, he can be a little bit iffy. We know from us where it's going to come from. Jota's going to be an absolute pest. Diaz on the left is going to do his thing. McAllister's going to be spraying balls around. Kanate and Van Dijk off the corners and set piece. We're very alike as a team as well. Trent obviously is going to be in there. He'll invert into the midfield, pulling the strings. Curtis Jones, who loves playing against Arsenal, and we hope he plays well again tomorrow, loves picking up the ball, driving forward at them, getting them to make decisions, getting players to run them. Dominic the same, picking up the ball, being positive, driving forward all the time, getting players to come at him to open up those spaces for other players and stuff like that as well. Looking for a real positive result tomorrow, and I think I'm going to agree with Philip here. I think it is going to be a tight game won by the odd goal, and I'm going to shade it at Liverpool 2-1. I'd love it to be more comfortable, but I think it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable. I think we're going to have to ride our luck probably for the first, say, 10-15 minutes, because they're going to come out of the traps hard to try and put us under that pressure. We're going to have to withstand that and then just hit them on the counter, like we've done in the past. Huge match, plenty on the line for it. Love us to maintain our position in terms of winning. Some would say we're invincible this season because we don't really count that Spurs loss, but we've only lost one this season on record. I'd like that to continue tomorrow. I think if we get the win tomorrow, I think it ticks one out of the way. I think 8 points to be behind with Arsenal, with the run-in they have and the run-in we have, I think would be huge. If you look at our 2 big games coming up in the run-in, one would be Man City at home and the other one would be Man United away. But if you look at Arsenal's run-in, there's some key matches in there for them as well. So I don't expect us to lose 3 games more than Arsenal on the run-in. So in effect, a win tomorrow would probably take Arsenal out of the title race, although mathematically nothing's ever sorted that way. But that's how it would look to me. That's my thinking on it. So yeah, that's it, folks. Big game tomorrow. Really looking forward to it. Hoping to be able to get out of this room as well to watch it. But if not, I'll be back again, probably with a match reaction. If the match reaction isn't on here, I may hear from Jack on Anfield Road TV. I might be over there doing a match reaction with himself and Spider and Nigel and the boys, as we always do. Hopefully it's a positive result. Hopefully the Reds keep this run going. That's what we want to see tomorrow. It's another game. It's at the Emirates. Put our best foot forward. Do it in memory of obviously young Connor's dad and all that kind of stuff as well, and obviously Jurgen leaving. But yeah, hopefully we get a positive result, and hopefully those players return as well. The likes of Trent and all really step up and play really, really well and stuff like that and all. And we will keep this going as long as we can this season. Until next time, folks, if you could subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, drop a like on the video. And we will probably talk to you again tomorrow evening. If not Monday, I'll be back with the Monday mashup, full review of all the Premier League action. We'll go through all the latest news. Mark will be here, resident referee for any VAR decisions that should have happened and stuff like that as well. Wednesday, I'll be back with Pro Wrestling Weekly, review of the Royal Rumble. We'll be talking about the Vinnie Mac allegations and all sorts of good wrestling stuff on Wednesday as we catch up on what we've missed out on. Thursday Tier Talk with Darren. We'll be previewing the Premier League action for the next weekend. We'll also be doing our Beat the Bookie, latest news, all that kind of stuff, and catching up on the AFCON and the Asian Cup as well, as we always do. Folks, have a really safe. It's a bank holiday here this weekend as well. It's that new COVID bank holiday that they put in and stuff like that. So if you're enjoying the bank holiday, folks, over here, stay safe. Don't do anything silly. It's always a time where things tend to happen. Enjoy it. Stay safe. Enjoy the football. And we will talk to you, worst case, Monday evening. Cheers, folks.